morning. How are we? And welcome to session 2 of World Learners. And this week we're going to carry on looking at teeth. We're going to look a little bit more about the teeth that we have. And then we're going to be thinking about looking after our teeth and what happens when we don't look after our teeth. Which is why in my little picture I've got a sort of a sad looking tooth. There's what looks like lots and lots of chocolate on it. So hello to everybody joining us live, everybody who is watching on catch up, everybody over on YouTube, and all the people I can see joining us on Facebook. The other thing to say before we move and the chat moves on quite quickly, I have just popped a link to the blog today because I'm going to be suggesting you do a really cool experiment, and so there's a link to that blog right at the top, and it looks a little bit like this. Yeah, if you're looking for that, it's at the top of the chat. So hello to Willow and Caden and Jaden and Rose and Jack and Ollie, Ava and Mum, Grace and Rose, Mima, Matthew, Finley, Eleanor, Myla, Aniqua, Lucy and Peter, Olivia, Caleb, Mummy and Jessie, Ollie, Myla, Olivia, who missed me, well, thank you very much. Hannah, William, Samantha, Alyssa, Clemby, Connie, another Alyssa. Oh no, Alyssa, you've just commented twice. Mayo and Tio, Alba, Georgia, and Mariam. I am fine, Myla. Thank you very much for asking. And so we're going to start by, can you remember? We've slept since last Wednesday. Can you remember the names of your teeth? So I had some really great feedback from some of your grown-ups that it was really great to start learning the names of your teeth and their functions. Hello, Olivia, Dahlia, Taylor, Stella, and Ollie, and Ollie's mum. Can you remember the names? So we've got these ones at the front, and they're a little bit like chisels. And then we have these ones here, which are sort of like tearing, sort of sharp. I was calling them our vampire teeth. And then we have these ones here, which you only have as an adult. And then we have these ones at the back. And we looked at animal teeth as well last week and discovered that different animals have different amounts of these. And one of the animals we looked at was the crocodile. And they only have that second tooth on my paddle. Their whole teeth are full of that because they need to do lots of tearing. So lots of you can remember canines and molars. Can anybody remember the posh name for the one before molars? So it's to do with the amount of cusps on those. So they have 2 cusps. So they had a really special name, if you remember. The front ones are a little like chisels, and they are known as our incisors. Well done to everybody who remembered that. Taylor's just come back from the dentist. I hope that was all okay. And then we've got these canines. Remember these sort of ripping teeth? Ah, yes, Alba's almost got it. These are known as our bicuspid teeth. They're premolars is often the easier name to remember, and we don't have those when we're children, and we have our milk teeth. We only have those as adults, and then we have our molars. Now my next question for you is, how many of each of these does an adult have? So can you remember how many incisors we have, how many canines we have, how many bicuspid teeth that an adult has, and then how many molars we have? Can anybody remember? So what about incisors? Can you remember how many incisors an adult should have? So 4 canines. So yes, we do have a lot less canines. We definitely don't have 4 of everything though. So Rose is saying we have 8 incisors. So we absolutely do. So we have 8 incisors, and then we have 4 canines. Can anyone remember how many bicuspid teeth we have? Anyone remember? So we have 4 incisors at the top, 4 incisors at the bottom, 2 canines at the top, 2 canines at the bottom. How many bicuspid or premolars do we have? Well, we have 8 of those. So we have 2, 2, 2, and 2. And then molars, we have 8 molars, but we may have as many as 12. Because there's something else that sometimes grows at the back of our teeth when we are often in our 20s. Can anyone remember? So some of our grown-ups were saying that they still only have 8 molars, but some of us have 12 molars. What are those last 4 teeth that often, yes, Anika's got it, they're often called our wisdom teeth. So they're molars, but they come up often in our 20s, and historically we had bigger jaws because our food was far harder to chew, and also we would have worn our teeth, a lot of our teeth, our molars away, so these almost were replacement teeth. But we sometimes have those taken out. Well, there's just no room, and our adult teeth just are just there, and our wisdom teeth never come through. But that's what our mouth looks like if it was an ordinary mouth. And everybody's mouth and teeth look differently. And I was mentioning about my son who has some of his teeth missing. So he has an incisor missing. Yeah, you might, your teeth might not look like this. And we were talking about grandparents as well, weren't we, last week, and how some grandparents don't have had some of their teeth taken out. Now, what we're going to think about now is what our teeth are made of. So if this is a cross section of a tooth, so if I could chop one of your teeth in half and look at it, this is actually what it would look like. Now, we often don't think about the fact that our teeth are alive. They are alive, and often a sign that they're alive is the fact that if you have sensitive teeth and you eat ice cream, then you can often get that kind of pain in your teeth. But our teeth are alive. And so lots of people think because they're quite hard, and maybe they're a little bit like nails, so the end of our nails we know isn't alive, and the end of our hair isn't alive. This is just alive at the roots. So lots of people sometimes think that our teeth aren't really alive, but they absolutely are. So does anybody know? These are all the different parts of our teeth. I've given you some start and end letters to help you. Does anybody know some of the different things that make up your tooth? So Philly's saying calcium. Well, we often eat things that are full of calcium because that makes our teeth strong. They're not made of bone. Lots of you think they're made of bone, but they're not made of bone. So some of you can see this is the gum, absolutely. So there's some gum here where your teeth are in. Some of you have got it. So it's not calcium. We think that we eat calcium to keep our bones and our teeth strong. But absolutely, some of you have got blood vessels. Some of you can see the root. I can see the word dentine, enamel. Absolutely. Pulp. What's pulp? You often don't think of pulp when you think of a tooth. Cementum, that's a good idea. But it's blood, absolutely. Lots of you saying enamel and roots. So you've looked at roots. So if you could pull this tooth out, you would actually see these 2 roots. You might have, if your grown-ups ever have a tooth out, you might get to see those big roots because we don't see those on milk teeth. Yeah, crown is another great word. So that's part of it. Nerves, amazing. So we've got some amazing answers here. So we're going to go through how your teeth are made. So we tend to talk about the top of our tooth as being known as the crown of our tooth, I suppose, because it looks like the top bit. And then the bottom, the bit that's wedged in the gum, is known as the root. And so if you ever hear of sometimes people saying to the dentist, well, I have to go and have a crown on my tooth, it's often where they have to have the top of that tooth repaired. So in terms of what we call it, we call the top of our tooth the crown, and then the bottom of the tooth the root. And the root is what is wedged into the gum. And then at the bottom of the root, you have the nerves, which obviously go into the rest of your face and your body. But the big ones is to say that the crown, the top bit of your tooth that you can see when you look in the mirror, is made out of enamel. And it's the hardest material in the body. So it's not bone, it's enamel, and it protects. It's almost like a big shield, a big tough shield, which protects the inside of the tooth. And so when you look at your teeth in the mirror and you see the white crown, that is made of enamel. And then underneath the crown, the enameled crown, you have something called dentine. And this is what most of your tooth is made up of. So often this is where infection can often start setting root, and often where decay, which is why often if you ever have a filling, they drill off the enamel and start to protect, because it can often get down into the dentine. And then sort of underneath the dentine is what's known as the pulp. And that basically is almost like a jelly. And that's where the blood supply is to the tooth. That links to the nerve endings. And that's where it gets all of its blood supply. And then cementum, which is at the bottom, is something that covers and protects the roots. And actually, I have a problem with one of my back teeth. It's a wisdom tooth. It's come through a little bit funny. And so I had an actual problem with a bit of the root. And so they drilled sort of down the side of it. And then they put, because it was basically, because it came in at an odd angle, the nerve was always cross. But they didn't want to take it out because it was a healthy tooth. So they drilled through the enamel, and then they actually put like a barrier, almost like a pretend cementum, to try and stop my root getting cross. Oh man, I'm frozen for somebody. Am I frozen for everybody or just for Wendy? And so lots of people are saying they've got a crown. Like their grown-ups have got crowns, absolutely. But your teeth are alive. And I've got a problem with my front tooth, because my front tooth suddenly started to go a little bit of a funny colour a couple of years ago. And they said to me, oh, we think your tooth is dead. And I was like, oh dear, that's a bit of a problem. And so the dentist, in order to work out whether it was dead, they got a really, 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 really ice cold piece of metal, and they held it on my tooth, and they asked if I could feel it. And I said, yeah, I can definitely feel it. It really hurts, because it was like minus 30 or something ridiculous. And that's because, and they said, oh, well, no, your tooth is alive. We don't actually know what's wrong with it. But yeah, your teeth are alive. And so lots of us don't kind of realise that. So some of you have got fillings. What nutrients do we need for a healthy body? So what should our teeth be chewing? So I'm going to turn my camera off. I've got lots of different kind of food groups here. What sorts of things should we be chewing with our teeth for a healthy body and a healthy diet? So what should we be using? I know, it was a bit like that, Jack. And do you know what? The other thing, not to complain about it, but it cost £95 for them to tell me that my tooth wasn't dead. And I was like, great, thanks. I still have quite an unsightly tooth, but it's alive, and I'm £95 out of pocket. Protein, says Rose. Vegetables, absolutely. Yeah, so fruits. Some people are saying you should only have what Alyssa's saying, just one sweet a day. Alyssa, you should come and tell my son that. He's a pain for wanting sweets. Yeah, so lots of fruit and vegetables. Carbohydrates, absolutely. We do have carrots. What might we put those under? There's lots. So we're looking for food, like food groups. So there's lots of veggies. So yeah, we do need all of them. So carbohydrates, fiber, protein, vitamins and minerals. Lots of you were talking about calcium for strong teeth. We need water and also fats, but healthy fats. Now, some of you were saying about how fruit can often, so when we eat vegetables and fruit to get our vitamins and our minerals, often that is not as healthy as it could be. But yeah, absolutely. Lots of fruit contains lots of sugars. Yes, everything in balance. Fiber is really important. So our teeth are continually eating a whole variety of different things because we need all of these things in our bodies in order for our bodies to be healthy. So nuts and seeds definitely come under protein, and they can give us a little bit of fiber as well. So we're constantly trying to be healthy and have everything in moderation, and we're trying to sort of have a wide variety of food if we can. But sometimes our teeth can get damaged. So what Twinkl pasta? Yeah, wouldn't that be cool if it's lots of Twinkl stuff actually. There's Twinkl pasta and Twinkl nuts and Twinkl coconut oil. Wouldn't that be funny if you went to a shop and you actually saw that? So what then damages our teeth? What can damage our teeth? And why is it important to look after our teeth? So some of you are saying sweeties. Some of you are saying too much fruit. Grinding your teeth. Rose grinds her teeth. My eldest son used to grind his teeth dreadfully to the point that I could hear him down the corridor. He has stopped actually. He has grown out of it. Hard things, absolutely. So if you're trying to bite into something a bit hard, falling over and maybe hurting your tooth, so chipping a tooth, too many sweets, not brushing our teeth, drinking fizzy drinks, absolutely not brushing our teeth enough, eating lots of sugary fruit. What I found really interesting when I was reading about fruit is that fruit is far more sugary than it was thousands of years ago. We've bred it to be far sweeter. And as a result, we have lost, supposedly, when we were prehistoric people, we really liked the taste of bitter, and we would eat lots of like bitter roots and things like that. And as we have more developed and bred our fruit to be sweeter, we've lost that desire to eat bitter things. Yeah, there is hope, Rose, about your grinding stop. So he's 12 and only just stopped. Yeah, maybe not using toothpaste, germs, absolutely. Hard seeds. My daughter laughs at me because I cracked a tooth on a jelly tot. How on earth you do that, I do not know. Too much sugar. Yeah, maybe too much jam. I do have the badge for ridiculous cracking a tooth on a jelly tot, which if you've eaten a jelly tot would know, they're quite soft. But it's important to look after your teeth, because if you don't look after your teeth, it leads to tooth decay. So we basically end up, because of the bacteria in our mouth, and as we're sort of chewing on all of these different foods, we end up with a thin layer of dental plaque. And that contains bacteria, and that our mouths are naturally acidic as well. And it starts to damage the enamel on our teeth. And as we've looked at our teeth, if that enamel then gets damaged, it allows bacteria and decay to get into the dentine and the pulp. And so it's really, really important also to make sure that you're brushing off that plaque, because it can also irritate the gums. So absolutely, I think someone wrote it's everything in moderation, but brushing your teeth is really important to kind of look after your teeth. My children sometimes forget to brush their teeth, and I keep saying, please brush your teeth. Someone's excited about the experiment already. But brushing your teeth helps to remove this plaque that forms. And if you don't remove it, then it tends to calcify and become really, really hard. And then it's really, really hard in order to get rid of it. Now, my question to you is could you come up with 3 ways that you could look after your teeth? I wouldn't be scared of bacteria. So we are full of bacteria. We need bacteria to digest our food, in our guts, in order to have a healthy digestive system. I think it can sound a bit scary, but actually, there's lots and lots of good bacteria. So try not to be scared of bacteria. Electric toothbrushes are great. My daughter doesn't like the sensory feel of an electric toothbrush, but yeah, toothbrushing, making sure you're brushing for 2 minutes. So that's 1, brushing for 2 minutes, using a good toothbrush. What else could you do to look after your teeth? Flossing, yeah. So if you've got adult teeth and your dentist says that's okay, sometimes you can floss between the tooth, or you can get those odd interdentile brushes. Using mouthwash, again, yeah, if you get to an age, because you need to spit mouthwash out, if you get to a certain age, you can use mouthwash. Making sure that you're cutting down on fizzy drinks and sugary drinks and drinking things like water, trying to have a good diet, using good toothpaste. So making sure that you don't eat too much fruit. Drinking, that's the first thing my dentist always says to my children. What do you drink during the day? Trying to drink water during the day and only drinking soft drinks at meal times. Not too many sweeties. Yeah, you've got it. There's lots of them. Well, I was trying to think, going to a dentist if you have one. I think if you have one is a really good point. It's very hard to get hold of a dentist at the moment. Maybe that's a webinar or an online live lesson for grown-ups to moan about. Lots of them. Now, I came up with quite a few. I think we've got them all. So brushing your teeth twice a day, making sure you're brushing for at least 2 minutes. Because sometimes my children will brush, but then literally brush for like 5 seconds. Avoiding sweets and sugary drinks. Using mouthwash, using dental floss, visiting the dentist. This is a really big one for our family, is wearing a mouth guard when you play certain sports. So my eldest plays an awful lot of hockey, and hockey has an incredibly hard ball and obviously very hard sticks, and young people that aren't as coordinated as they'd like to be. So this is a really good one that I don't think lots of us have anyone's got so far, but wearing a mouth guard if you're playing a certain sport. Avoiding snacking. Well, yes, I think that's the hardest one. We are a snacking nation, only drinking water, and also not brushing too hard. So sometimes if you brush too hard, it upsets your gums. So this is the ideal, but obviously we're going to have sweeties and sugary drinks, and we're going to snack, but it's about being sensible, I think. So someone's just finally found a dentist after 6 months. So yes, now why the dentists always say to you, well, guys, you need to avoid eating too many sweeties and avoid drinking things that aren't water. And that's because often these things cause the most damage. So sugary foods cause the most damage to the enamel. it really sort of encourages that bacteria and that plaque to form. So wear a mouth tape if you're a mouth. Well, that's interesting, Finley. Does breathing through your mouth damage your teeth, does it? That's a really good one. Alyssa, no, I don't think I have seen your comments. Let me just flick back. Might need to write it again because I can't see it. And I've gone back quite a bit. So what we're going to do, what I'm going to suggest to you is, could you do an experiment this week if you're grown-ups say it's okay? So it involves using eggs. If you're a vegan, you can use very thin marble chips. So you can get those, I think, in craft shops. The best thing to use is a hard-boiled egg. So dependent on how much you want, how many things you wish to test, using an egg is almost like the enamel of your teeth is almost like the eggshell protecting an egg. And so what we're going to do, or what I'm going to suggest you do, is that you hard boil some eggs, and those are going, or you get some fine marble chips, and those are going to be like your teeth. Because what I'm not going to suggest you do is spend a week drinking fizzy drinks and then see what that does to your teeth. And what you're going to do is you are going to test lots of different drinks. So you could test water, you could test cola, you could test orange juice, you could test your favourite fizzy drink. That's really interesting. Thank you very much for being a mouth. If you're a mouth breather, it can affect your teeth. Wow, I didn't know that. So what you're going to do is you're going to boil your eggs, deciding on how many liquids you're going to test. Now, you first of all need to be really good at handling your eggs. So I suggest that you take them out of the fridge, bring them to room temperature before you then boil them, and then you bring them to the boil slowly, because what you don't want is any cracks in your eggs. Your eggs need to be perfectly entire. The second thing I would say is, if you're going to test cola and orange juice and apple juice and maybe fizzy orange and water, you need to measure the same amount of liquid using a measuring jug. So you're not going to have a fancy beaker with an egg in. You're probably just going to use some kitchen glasses if you want to do it. So work out how much liquid needs to cover the egg in the glass you're using, and make sure you use exactly the same. So exactly the same amount of cola as orange juice, as water, and so on. And then label your containers with the drink that you've used, or make a little sign for it, because it's likely to change how it looks. And so therefore you kind of want it to remember what you've used. And then another thing, and again, this is up to your grown-ups, another thing you could do is you could have one egg completely covered in toothpaste in a cup of cola, and then you could have another egg just in the cola. Does covering the toothpaste around your egg make a difference? Before you add any liquids, please also make sure your eggs are cold. That's a really, really important one. And then you can then record your results over the next week. So you need to be looking at, can you see anything in the liquids? If you carefully touch the shell, does it feel any different? Can you see any colour changes? Can you see any damage to the box of, to the eggshell? Does it look like? And you're going to record it every single day. So your initial observations, day 1, day 2, and so on. Right, so Alyssa has a box of sweets, and she writes down all the sweets in her sweet box, and she crosses them out. I assume that's so that you don't eat too many, so that you're eating, sort of spacing it out. So this is a really great experiment to mimic tooth decay at home. So do go and ask your grown-ups. And then next week, come to the session. I will. I'm not going to put up a sharing post this week, but do go and share over on Facebook if you've got anything exciting to show me, because I want you to keep this and doing this until next week. And as I said, if you link to the blog, you can find a great sheet to print off, which you can jot your results into. Now, the person told me they were frightened of bacteria. Possibly you might not want to know this fact, but did you know that the average person, this is my fun fact that I learned this week, that the average person has more bacteria in their mouth than there are people on Earth. So you've got billions of bacteria in your mouth. There is more bacteria in your mouth than there are people on Earth. And that was my random fact while I was making this lesson last week that I learned. But what we're going to finish off with is a little bit of a quiz. So how long does it take for plaque, so this sticky film on your teeth, to start forming after you eat? So do you think it takes 10 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, or 24 hours? Yes, Jack, it's in the pack. The experiment pack is linked to the blog. Linked in the blog, and that result sheet is in that little pack. So once you've eaten, so let's say we're going to eat, I don't know, a piece of toast and an apple, how long do you think it's going to take for that plaque to start forming on our teeth? So I think most of you are going for 30 minutes. Most of you are going for B, which isn't that long. But you're absolutely right, 30 minutes. So if you eat something sugary, brushing your teeth is a really good plan, because otherwise that sticky plaque will stay on your teeth all day. So yeah, well done. Now the next one, and do you know that walrus teeth, that's their teeth. We call them tusks, but that's actually some of their teeth. What percentage of children aged 5 to 17 have at least one cavity? So have at least one hole in their teeth caused by their tooth, the enamel breaking down because of plaque getting inside the tooth. So how many have had a cavity between 5 and 17? Do you think 30% of children have had at least one cavity? Do you think 50% of children have had at least one cavity? 60 or 75? What do we think? Oh, this is a bit of a mix now. I think the winner potentially is 50%, so about half. It's quite tight between that and 60%. Shall I tell you? It is 60%. And as I said, you know, it's because the things that we eat these days generally are sweeter. Cereal is sweet, milk is sweet, our fruit is sweet, and because of that, it's quite high in sugar. And so this is kind of how our diet has evolved. When we were away over Christmas, and we went to York, and we went to the York chocolate story, and one of the things they were talking about actually on the little tour was how when chocolate first came here, people were obviously drinking it in the original drink, and it was very savoury and bitter. Now we like things that are chocolate that's really quite high in sugar. So yeah, right, this was interesting. Which country has the lowest rate of tooth decay in the world? So do you think it's Sweden, Japan, Finland, or Australia? Shush, 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 shush. Are you coming back from York now? I really loved York. So which country has the lowest rate of tooth decay in the world? I think it's Sweden, Japan, Finland, or Australia. So lots of you are, again, a bit unsure and a bit, some of you are saying all of them, Sweden, lots of you are saying Japan, some of you are saying Finland. Oh, Rose says Australia. Japan says mummy. Oh, there's lots of different ones. I think Finland. I think there's been. I think it's probably between Finland and Japan. Well, the answer is Japan. So well done if you got that one right. What is the most common food that causes tooth decay? So do we think it's eating apples, eating chips, eating fizzy drinks, or eating cake? So what do we think is the most common food? Eating too many apples, too many chips, too many fizzy drinks, or too much cake? I think for me it's probably too much cake. But I think most of you have got this one right. Everybody's going for it. It is not cake. It is fizzy drinks. So try, if you're going to do the experiment, to make sure that you use at least one fizzy drink to see, does a fizzy drink cause more decay to your egg than, say, an orange juice? Now, how long does it take for a hole, a cavity, to form in your tooth? Do you think it takes 1 to 2 weeks, 1 to 3 months, 6 months, or 1 to 2 years? So once that bacteria started breaking down that enamel and it's starting of a cavity, how long do you reckon it takes for a cavity to form? 1 to 2 weeks, 1 to 3 months, 6 months, or 1 to 2 years? Now, I assumed it would be 6 months because they ask you to go to the dentist every 6 months. Lots of you going for 1 to 3 months. I think 1 to 3 months is the winner. Rose reckons 1 to 2 weeks. Well, the answer is, it is 1 to 2 weeks, which actually frightened me slightly. So yeah, 1 to 2 weeks. That was incredibly quick. But yeah, well done. So do have fun this week with that experiment if you want to have a go. The link to the blog is at the top of the chat. And it takes you to this blog which says World Learners Bite, Digest and Repeat. Excuse me. I think I've got some dog hair in my throat because my dog's just got up and started woofing. There's a link to an experiment pack and some other great activities as well. So have a lovely, lovely week. And I'm going to go and get a drink to get rid of this funny cough that suddenly arrived. Maybe it's suggesting that I don't dust well enough. And my drink definitely won't be a fizzy drink. But have a lovely, lovely week, and I will see you soon. See you soon.